See?
Blood is a fraternity. 100%. It's no difference. It's no difference. Only thing they did different is file legal papers that make them a fraternity. If somebody was to name Blood Alpha Phi Blood right now and file the papers, then Blood would be a fraternity, and we could start it anywhere, and they could put it in colleges and all that. Being Blood is not a crime.
Welcome to my channel. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. We fly high, no lie. You know this. Bowling. Y'all heard it from the horse's mouth. Mr. Jim Jones, the Dipset legend, a man who's been in the rap game for over 20 years, and yet here he is, pushing 50 and still glorifying the gang culture like it's a badge of honor. So as you guys saw from the video, Jim Jones compared being in a gang, being a blood, to being in a fraternity. But let's be real, fraternities are not leading most of their members to death or prison. Yeah, there's been some hazing incidents, but that's a small fraction. Most fraternity members graduate, get jobs, and build real connections that last a lifetime. But gangs, most people who join a gang, they won't even make it to 50. They won't make it to Jim Jones' age. And if they do, they're either going to be locked up, just got out of jail, just got out of prison, or have a rap sheet so long that they can't even get a stable job. And here's the thing, when you join a gang, you're not just joining for brotherhood, you're knowingly signing up for criminal activity. And that's the difference that Jim Jones doesn't want to talk about. For years, Jim Jones has been tied to gang culture, from throwing up signs and the videos to openly talking about his affiliation with the Bloods. He never shied away from it. And let's be real, Jim Jones has made it out. He's successful, but instead of using his platform to show young men a way out, he's still pushing the same gang mentality that traps people in a cycle of violence and poverty. Look at all the young rappers today who still look up to him as an OG. Look at how many of them are getting caught up in RICO cases, getting locked up before they can even reach their prime. At what point do we grow out of this? At what point do we say, I've made it, I don't need to push this narrative anymore? So Jim Jones saying that a fraternity is just like being in a gang? Let's be real. How often does that brotherhood when you're in a gang last? In a fraternity, you can build lifelong friendships, get job opportunities, network for business deals, and if you lose your job, a fraternity brother might help you get a new one. If you start a business, they might be your first investor. But in a gang, the brotherhood only lasts as long as it benefits them. The same people you call brothers, they'll be the same one at trial snitching on you to get a lighter sentence. When you get locked up, how many of them are really putting money on your books? How many of them are going to be checking in on your family and making sure your kids are good? Or worse, how many of them are going to be trying to sleep with your girl the moment you end up behind bars? So much for brotherhood. So Jim Jones, he wants to sell this fantasy that gangs are about loyalty. But the truth is, most of these so-called brothers will forget about you the moment you're out of the picture. Over 80% of gang members will be arrested at some point in their lives. The average life expectancy of a gang member is way lower than the national average of a regular human being. Majority of them have either been shot or have been involved in some type of violent crime. Only a small percentage of gang members ever make it out and live a stable, successful life. But let's compare it to a fraternity. Over 85% of Fortune 500 companies executives were a part of a fraternity. Fraternities members, they're more likely to graduate college and secure a high-paying job. The networking opportunities from a fraternity, it can last you a lifetime. So tell me, how is joining a gang like being in a fraternity? Because we all know one sets you up for success and the other sets you up for failure. Jim Jones, you're pushing 50. You're supposed to be an OG. An OG is supposed to guide the younger generation, not keep them stuck in the same cycle. Look at Styles P. He went from the locks to opening up juice bars, talking about health. He's showing the next generation how to eat right, stay fit, and build businesses. Look at Jay Prince. Jim is moving around like he's still in his 20s, still talking that gang talk like it's 2003. Hello, Jim. We're in 2025. How is that growth? Don't get me wrong. People respect Jim for what he did in hip-hop history, being a part of Dipset, but being legendary doesn't mean that you can keep pushing the same destructive message for 20 plus years. At some point, you gotta evolve. At some point, you gotta grow up. Young rappers and the young kids of our generation, they're watching Jim Jones and they're thinking, if he's pushing 50 and he's pushing this narrative at his age, why should I change? Because after all, Jim Jones is saying being in the gang is like a fraternity. But what they don't realize is that once you get caught up, it's over. The streets don't care. The industry doesn't care. Look at how many young rappers have been hit with RICO cases in just the last few years. Young Thug, Lil Durk, Casanova, and the list goes on and on. Look at how many promising careers have been cut short because they couldn't let go of the street mentality. And the worst part, Jim Jones, he knows this. He's seen the cycle. He's lost friends. But instead of breaking the pattern, he's reinforcing it. At some point, the culture has to evolve. At some point, Jim Jones, guys like him, they need to grow up. We, as the black community, we cannot keep on looking up to people who refuse to grow up, like Jim Jones. Jim has had a chance to use his influence for something bigger, but instead, he's keeping the streets alive while sitting in a mansion. His son is not out here in the streets. His son just graduated from a private high school, living in a gated community, which is completely different from the street narrative that he's pushing. How ironic. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. With that being said, I am out.